afternoon, guys. It is 2 o'clock here in BC, so I think it's about 4 or 5 on the East Coast. Just getting Caden down for a nap. Miss Aura is taking care of that for me. Yay, gotta love older kids. Caden was checking out my camera setup before he went for his nap. So I had to explain to him that nobody's there yet. But we're here now, right? Okay. What's going on? I am not gonna do shipping on Tuesday this week. I am supposed to. Hey, Terry. Have fun baking with your daughter. I'm not gonna do shipping on Tuesday this week unless it just slips into my mailbox because we have a community mailbox that you can slip a letter mail into. Otherwise, if it's a parcel, I'm gonna be waiting until Thursday or Friday to ship stuff out because the Omnique frame stuff that I've been waiting for is supposed to be in on Wednesday. So I want to get that stuff in, get those orders out at the same time rather than shipping twice in 1 week, right? So I went shopping yesterday so that I wouldn't have to do shopping on Tuesday. So shipping won't happen until probably Thursday or Friday, depending on how organized I am when stuff gets here. What else? That's shipping. I'm still adding more stuff to the website, just a little bit here and there. I'm still doing books. I have been doing some Zooming with a couple of people, but I have a few more that I've asked if they want to join us, and they say they don't know how to get in, whether it be with phone or tablet or computer. So I'm debating on doing a couple little short videos showing you guys how to log into Zoom and how to find my group. Those of you that are already part of like Virtual Stitchers, it's the same thing. I'm using Zoom, but my room ID and password are going to be different than Virtual Stitchers. But yeah. And then as you go on Zoom, a couple of us have done it where we exchange our email. If you would like to, you don't have to. You exchange your email with me, and then I can just go invite when I do sign on because my schedule is so sporadic that I don't always get to go on when I'd like to, right? With 2 under 3 and a 14-year-old husband and the rest of life still happening, yeah, I don't get to go on as much as I'd love to go on. So, definitely, if you don't know how to get onto Zoom, just shoot me a message and I will send you some pictures and help you get set up because it is so great. And you don't have to worry about being nervous. If you want to join but you don't want your video on, then just join with voice. Or if you want to join but you don't want to talk, just mute yourself and you can be in the video and you can hear what we're all saying. So definitely feel free to come and join us and be a part of it. It's great once you get over those first couple hurdles. Yes, Jen, I did get the money that you sent. I thought I answered you back, but I might not have. No, I did not answer you back. 1 second. I will answer you back. Right? Sorry, it's warm in here. My husband has been making sure the fire is going every night because it's like, -8, -10. And so, yes, I did. Sorry, that was my answer to Jen. My husband has been lighting the fire every night, and then instead of having to relight it every day, he wants me to just throw a couple blocks in, and I'm terrible. I forget all the time. Either way, he just wants a couple blocks going in every couple hours just to keep the coals in there. But that means the house is, yeah, it's Sunday. The house is 79. 79. It's great for my sourdough bread starter. It's doing fantastic because they want it between 70 and 80. I don't have to put it in the oven with the light on or anything. It just sits on the counter because it's cooking in here. But I'm like boiling. Really. Oh well. He's just trying to save on the heating bill. So, what was I going to do today? I was going to yak with you guys a bit, say come join us on Zoom. I promise you'll have a great time. I promise. And maybe if there's enough of us, I can say, hubby, I'm going to go sneak off and go Zoom for a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what he says. He's happy that we get to do this kind of stuff. Even though he's like, really, I gotta go somewhere while you do a video, he likes it. Oh, you guys can all see each other chatting. Awesome! There's a little chat window on this YouTube. So it's great. I can read the comments. If you guys are on the YouTube one, while you're live, you can chat and I can type, but my keyboard's way up here, but I can just answer you. Yeah. Yeah, I know. They like their fireplaces, and I'm like, I'd rather not. But hey, gotta do what we can do. So, maybe I'll do a bit of demo because someone asked if I could do a demo for pin stitch. So I will do pins. I'm gonna do a few stitches because I have a little bit of thread, and then I'll do a pin stitch end, and then a pin stitch beginning, so you guys can see. And then maybe once I'm done that, I will come back to this screen and we can just chat if anyone has any questions that I haven't addressed while I'm doing this little demo. So I will switch over to demo mode. There we go. You guys can see my little bug. I hope it's not too wobbly, but it will move a little bit. And it's a little bit awkward stitching like this, but hey, I can do it. So I just have a few stitches going on here. I am stitching on 32 count even weave parchment, and this is the hands-on design series. I'm doing May right now. Sorry, my lighting is not the best. I have the camera sitting on my work. So that's why you guys are getting a little bit extra movement, but it was the best way to show what I'm doing down here. Otherwise it was just too far away. And sorry if the focus keeps coming and going. I cannot manually adjust it as far as I know. It just automatically picks up what it's going to pick up. Anyone that's nervous about learning how to stitch on even weave or linen, the philosophy for stitching on those two is the same. The difference is the threads. I'll show you in a second here. On linen, these threads here that make up the fiber can be a little bit wonky, I want to say. There's proper terms for them. Don't ask me what they are. I can't think of them right now on the spot. I read them all the time. Anyway, the threads that make up the warp and weft, I don't know. They can be uneven, and they can have slubs, which is a little bit wider area. Even weave, or Lugana, is known for having even threads. Now this linen I'm stitching on looks fantastic. There isn't very much difference between the threads for the most part. There may be the odd area that has a little bit of wider threads. Bye, Terry. Have a great day. Have fun baking. Sorry. So learning to stitch on them is virtually the same. It's just, linen is usually more expensive, and it can have a little more variation than your even weaves. But if you're nervous about learning to stitch on either one, I would start with the even weave, because then you don't have to worry about stitches looking uneven because of the different thicknesses of fiber. Alright, that's one section. Now check my pattern, see where I'm going to go next. That will be easy enough to stitch with you guys right here. If I go down, I'm going to fight the leg of the camera, so I'm going to go across. So it's a one space? Yeah. There's three space, so here, 1, 2, 3. And this is where my next piece starts. And I'm just kind of going along and doing the one leg and then coming back and doing the other, because I'm just stitching in DMC. So it's not going to have a whole lot of variation. And yeah, it just leaves me in a spot that I would prefer to be. With DMC, as long as it's not one of the variation or colorist versions, you can usually stitch however you would like to stitch. We need music in the background. Alright, I'm going to show you in a minute here how to end a thread. I mean, I have a fair amount. I would usually push my limits a little bit more, but because I'm doing this on camera, I don't want to fight with the legs of the camera while I'm doing this. So with your pin stitch, you can choose to end either horizontal or vertical, which you would do it in the center of your stitches, or you can end diagonal. So I'm going to end this diagonal so that it looks just like my stitch, and then I'm going to start it diagonal on the next stitch. It's nice to be able to do it on an area that you have the ability to end your thread and then start your thread and then carry on your color. You can also choose to, sometimes you're going to be finishing your thread, right, and finishing your color. So then you're going to want to do it vertical or horizontal, because you're going to want your last leg to look clean. And then when you do it either vertical or horizontal, whatever choice you make, you kind of hide it in your stitch. You pull a little tighter. So I'm going to show you how I end on diagonal. So I have my thread coming up in my corner here. I'm going to go down my center. When you're stitching on even weave and linen, it is the easiest for pin stitches, in my opinion. You can do them on Aida, and most people will use a sharps needle if they're going to do a pin stitch on Aida, just to separate the fibers easier. So I went down. Now I'm going to come back up in the other corner. You see my needle here. And then I'm going to go back down in that center piece like I did. Now, me being paranoid, normally you can just do those two and you're good. Me being paranoid, I like to come back up that first corner and then go back down the center. And I give it a little bit of a tug just to pull those fibers tight. And now I just go like a stitch or so away. I'll go over this way. right, just a stitch or so away, and bring my thread to the front. And this allows me to cut my thread off, and then I don't have to flip my work to trim my thread. So when I do it this way, I pull it taut, so I'm actually pulling up on the fiber a little bit, and that allows it, when I do trim it close to the fabric, it kind of bounces in behind, and then there'll be like a little tiny tail on the back. And I don't even worry about if I stitched over it or anything. It's just there. So I pull it taut, trim it, and it just kind of bounces into the back. That one didn't. Of course not. If it doesn't, like this one didn't, it's still kind of sitting there. You can see it right there. I know, the blurriness is not helping this. You can just push it through with your needle. There you go. It's in the back. So let's show starting. I'll grab a new thread. If I would have been smart, I wouldn't have done this before. When you start, it's the same thing, but I like to use kind of what everybody calls the waist method, or the waist knot method, where they, trying to think here, they start a few stitches away, they go down, and then they come up where their stitch is supposed to start, and they leave that tail over there. And then what I do is I trim that tail after I've got it secure. Alright, so we're going to do a pin stitch start, so I'm going to use 2 strands. Don't do what I just did. You're supposed to do 1 strand at a time, and this is why. Because it gets all knotted up if you don't. I know better. I really do. There's one. Here's the other. There we go. Now, a lot of people don't like storing their threads on bobbins because it crimps up. I don't mind. Some advice, if you don't like it being all crimpy, right? You can show you. It's all crimped. You can run your strands that you just took out of your bobbin. You can run them through beeswax or thread conditioner. The one is discontinued, and I cannot think of which one it is right now. It's either Thread Magic or Thread Haven. I'm pretty sure it's Thread Haven is discontinued. I've also heard a lot of people talk about just using 100% beeswax. I have made some. They're butterfly shaped, and they are 100% Canadian beeswax. It's a cosmetic beeswax, so, or food grade. Cosmetic or food grade. In other words, it's one of the higher requirements in order to use it or make it. More stipulation is on it, I should say. So I will thread my needle. There we go. And I will show you pin stitch beginning. And I will do it vertical. And then you guys can see the vertical start rather than horizontal. Not horizontal, diagonal. So I start a few stitches away, and I'm going to kind of start at the top-ish because that's where my threads are heading. So I take my thread down, and I leave a tiny tail. Just going to move my camera a little bit. So I'm just going to leave a tiny tail, and I just kind of put my finger on the back to hold it. Now I come up where my pin stitch is going to start, which is going to be the center. So here's my corner, here's my center of my net stitch. And I'm going to do the bottom just so I can maybe catch that tail. So I come up and I'm holding that thread tight so that I don't pull it too far, right? Then I go back down the center. I'm blocking. So I go back down the center of that stitch area. Of course. Uh-oh. I just pulled a whole bunch of stuff. Alright. Start over. Probably because this is the length I usually use for loop start, so it's actually really long, but that's okay. So, go down, come up. When I find things are knotting on the back, I will do this method where I have the string, I go down and then I come right back up and then I pull so that I can see what's going on for knotting and all that. So, just pull it. I'm going to leave a longer tail because I'm trimming it off anyways. Go down. I'm just going to kind of smooth things out as it's going down so that it's less likely to knot up on me. Here we go. Now I come back up on the center of that stitch. Right there. I pull it kind of tight. And then I go back down. And like I said, paranoid me. I will come back up my starting place and go back down the center. Now, because I did it in the vertical position, I'm going to come up where my diagonal would start for my first leg of my stitch. And now you just continue stitching as you normally would. I'm going to trim off that tail, pull it taut, trim right against the fabric, and it'll just disappear. And now we can go back to our stitching as planned. Sorry, it's kind of dark here. Should have turned on some lights. There, my arm was blocking the light. So that's my corner. And we come up over here. And we carry on our stitching. Looks so much brighter on that screen. I'm doing a video. Alright. Making sure I'm going to the right spot over here. So that's my starting and ending pin stitches. You can do it after you've done a complete stitch as well. I'll show you once we get back over there. So that's 2 across the top, my third stitch, and I'll be heading back the other way. And even though it's not necessary, because I have so much thread left, I'll go back down to where I was, well, somewhere in here, where I've completed some stitches, and I'll show you how to pin stitch with a stitch completed. Stay over there then. Okay. Okay, ECC definition. Hilma, you're right about CC being cross country. When someone is talking about full coverage piece and doing ECC, it's extreme cross country. So that means you are doing the whole project in cross country before you start the next color. A lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot, people will do cross country in the aspect of they'll do one color of the whole page, cross country, and then they'll go to the next page. Extreme cross country is the definition of doing the whole project, one color, and then going back and doing the rest of the project in the next color. So extreme cross country means the whole project. Thank you. I'm hoping you guys can see, like you can see that pin stitch there right now, but now I'm going to cover it with this next one. And that other pin stitch disappeared with the first leg, right? That's why I say you can choose which method you use. So now you're not even going to see this pin stitch anymore. Right, I spoke too soon. And it's gone. You don't even know it's there. And I'm going to go into the next row and I will do a pin stitch with an area that, actually what I'll do is I'll finish this petal of the flower and then I will do a pin stitch where I finish. So down on that last leg. I feel bad when I get stuck like that when I'm trying to put the needle up and I'm like, wait a minute, it's not going in the right spot. We all do it often. Like I say, I'm just trying to see around my camera. I almost feel like I'm looking over my camera's shoulder. Sorry if I'm bumping you guys. A lot of people, when they do extreme cross country or even any cross country, if they follow the same principle as when they're doing columns, if the net section that has that color is, you know, an inch or two away or 20 stitches, whatever it may be, away from where they're working, they will end their thread, like I'm going to do in a minute, pin stitch under the back, whatever they decide. They will end their thread and then they will restart where they've counted over to. So just doing cross country or extreme cross country does not mean that you're carrying your threads. What it means is you'll end in that section. Well, you don't have to. Generally, you'll end in that section if your net section is too far away. Okay, so I am going to do a pin stitch on this next one. Something I do like to do. My stitch is ending in the top left corner, so I'm going to start my pin stitch in the bottom, and because I'm going to do it vertical, I'm going to start in the bottom middle. If I was doing it horizontal, I would pick the furthest spot away from where my stitch is finishing. So, like I said, I'm finishing my stitch in this top left corner. So, if I was going to do a horizontal one, I would finish my stitch, start my pin stitch, so to speak. Sorry, having a hard time getting a needle where I want it. I would start my pin stitch in here. Actually, maybe I will do that. No, I'll do the one I was going to go with. because I'm doing it vertical, my choice, doesn't matter which way I go. I'm going to start my pin stitch here, right in the center at the bottom, furthest point away from where my stitch is finishing. So I come up, and I'm not going to pull too tight because I don't want my stitch to look tighter than it normally would. And now I just kind of move my fibers, my stitch fibers, so that I know I'm going down the center again. Then, again, I'm not going to pull too tight because I don't want to tension too much on that top leg. I'm going to come up in what would be the center of that upper stitch. Now I'm going to pull a little bit tighter, just to make sure I've got that tension on there. And I'm going to go down. Now again, I'm going to move my top fibers for my stitch so that I can be sure I'm putting my needle down in the center. If you're not sure, try moving your needle around. If you I did that and I felt it, and then it kind of pushed against the thread here, I was definitely in the center then. Sometimes you gotta double check before you finish. So now I'm gonna go back down. So technically my pin stitch is finished there, but like I said, I'm paranoid about them. So I go back up that bottom one again, move my threads up, make sure I'm going down in that center. Sorry. I felt the needle squeak. It's definitely full. So that'll just help with the tension, right? So now you pull a little bit tighter. And you're sitting there going, but the stitch looks all wonky. That's okay. Give it a second. We're going to come up a stitch or two over, right? And I'm just going to fluff this stitch back up because I moved those fibers so I can make sure that that thread's going down in the right spot and that I don't catch these fibers, I don't want to catch the fibers of that stitch. I want to make sure they're out of my way. That's why I just kind of move them with the end of my needle. So after I'm done my stitch, I just kind of fluff it back up, put my fibers back where they're supposed to be. Now I've got that thread coming up a few stitches away. Sorry. Right, and I pull it taut, put my scissors right down at the bottom, and clip. And like I said, if that thread doesn't bounce back, you can just kind of rub it on the back, and that will take that thread to the back, and it's a tiny tail. So if you guys have any other questions about it, let me know. I can try and get a better zoom on the project and show you guys again. Sorry. If you guys have issues with, I'm going to switch over to the other view here. Just give me one moment. There we go. If you guys are having issues with you want to learn how to stitch on even weave or linen, give me a message and maybe I'll do a little video on. Again, I'll have to make sure I can get that zoom so that you guys can see, or I will do some diagrams or something and show you guys how to stitch on even weave and linen. I started on Aida, like a lot of people do, and now it's not that I don't mind, like I don't mind Aida, but I prefer the look of my stitches on even weave and linen. To me, they just seem to come off the fabric more and look plumper. But from a 3-foot distance, which is what most people look at a stitch object from, you can't really tell the difference between Aida and linen. But if you have a close-up and you're like really admiring that piece and you're like right there, Yeah, you can see the difference in your fibers. I love even weave and linen. My favorite is even weave because, like I say, the weaves are even, and I'm actually one that prefers. Like I say, a lot of times I can't do crazy quilts. I don't like trying to randomize stuff. I like to when I quilt, I like triangles and squares, and I like geometric stuff because I like straight lines. I like a clean look. So I do prefer even weave, but linen has its qualities too. It has a real rustic look to me, and that can be really beneficial if that's what you're aiming for. Alright, well, I should get going so that I can clean up my little demo here and maybe even get some stuff on the website and get some. That's what I was going to do. Like I said, I was talking to a few people and they would like to Zoom with us, anyone that can come on. So I'm going to quickly do up a little. I'm not going to do video right now. I will do up pictures of whether it's computer or whether it's tablet or phone mode that you're signing into it. And I'll do up a kind of demo instruction pictures, circle the area that you're going to want to press next. And like I said earlier in the video, if I have you guys' email, if you just PM to me or say, hey, use my email from PayPal or whatever it may be, I can add you guys to the Zoom list that I have. And then when I do go in Zoom, I can say add. Usually if I have a PM for you, I will PM and say, hey, I'm going to Zoom, because I don't want to just add people. I do all the time to Hilma. She can give me trouble if she wants. I don't like to just add people all the time because who knows what they've got going on for them that day. Maybe they're nowhere near their computer. So if I have a PM for you, I will just PM you first and say, hey, I'm going to Zoom in about 10 minutes. Hope to see you there. Right? Let you guys know. And then if you guys go, yeah, add me, then I'll just click invite. Alright, I should sign off and let you guys get back to the other FlossTube videos out there because there's tons. I myself need to catch up because I'm a couple days behind. Not a couple days. Carolyn's not doing one today. I'm not finished watching yesterday's video for Carolyn. I'm a couple videos behind for Bendy Stitchy. And I added a whole bunch of new ones. So I need to catch up. Alright guys, have a great day and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye!